When I was little, my father was famous. He was the greatest samurai in...
Greetings from Smoky, California. How's everybody doing out there? Just wanted to give you an idea of how we're actually living here these days. This is pretty much a daily basis. We have to kind of protect our lungs at all times. But let me just take this off.
Yeah. Jesse knows what I'm talking about. Jesse knows what I'm talking about. Yeah, I'm in Oakland, California. We are, this state is burning right now. And so the air quality is garbage. So pretty much at all times, we are wearing some type of protective masks just to move about. It's pretty bad. Here, Vallejo, yeah. So it wouldn't be so bad if it was just forest fires. Forest fires are relatively, they're smoky, but they're relatively clean. It's just carbon. But yeah, it's me. But this is city stuff burning. This is construction sites. This is plastics and old buildings filled with asbestos and all sorts of garbage. So the air is just nasty. It's supposed to rain in the next few days, hopefully, which of course will clear out the air and kill off all the fish in the local lakes. but it will at least clear out the air. What's up, Graham? Let's see who's in the room. So yeah, overly dramatic to start off with, but that is honestly, that's how I go around all the time. It's we got to protect ourselves out here. When it first started off, and it was just trees burning. That's one thing. It's irritating to the eyes, and it's hard to breathe. But that's large particle stuff. You can cough that kind of stuff out. But these chemical fires, stuff is vicious. It's killing us all. Morning Side Strike. Hey, Tony. Oh, hey, what's up, Christian? Long time no speak. We should talk offline or something. I want to tell you about some plans that are going on. Things are in the works right now. Let's see. Flat Earth Community University. Goodness. What is that? I do not know. Yeah, it is. It's pretty bad here. And luckily, I happen to work at places that have decent air conditioning systems. But still, to get there, I ride my bike everywhere I go. So to get there, I have to ride my bike through terrible polluted air, which sucks. The martial arts studio I work at also has a real high quality commercial HVAC system, which is great. But still, I got to get there. David, hello from Houston. What's up, Pale Blue Dot? What's up? Hi, NA. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you gave up on your lungs when you took up smoking. It's hilarious. I see people. I saw someone the other day sitting in their car with a mask on, and they're taking it down so they can smoke at an intersection. But I'm like, okay, all right. Yeah. I actually happen to have a bike with a motor. So if I need to, I try to use it as little as possible, but just for speed's sake now, I'm using the assistance just to get me to work quicker, so I'm not sucking in the wind. So that is actually a help. Chemical fires, 9/11. Will there be a conspiracy spinoff of these fires? There's already a conspiracy. It's a Wolf, 1959. There's already conspiracies about this. There are. And they're globe denier people that believe that these were caused by drones that are setting these fires, that the power companies are setting them on purpose, lasers being shot from space, I've heard, all sorts of stuff. So there already are conspiracies about this thing. What the goal is of it, I don't know, but yeah, the conspiracies are already there. Let's see. Jim, greetings from UK. Thank you very much. Focus beam weapons, yes. Oh, by the way, I don't know. I don't usually get too political, but a friend of mine was down in Mexico a week or so ago for Day of the Dead stuff and got me a custom shirt. So hold on a second. Let me show you my custom shirt. So got this made at a little place down in Mexico, made a request, come back the next morning, pick it up. So there you go. Let's see. Miles Davis. Yeah, yeah. Seriously, it's what is it? It's 8 o'clock. It is gloomy as hell right now. It looks like it's gonna. It's hard to describe. It's this kind of post-apocalyptic look. You know, that scene in Terminator 2 where, you know, she's standing at the fence and she's looking at the child's playground with all the haze and smoke, and that's what it looks like here all the time. So it's pretty creepy. Yeah, it's crazy. And what sucks is there's some experiment. It's, you know, a full moon's coming up, and I was planning on doing a cold light, you know, does the moon make cold light experiment, yeah, kind of thing. And I'm just not sure if we're going to have if it's just going to be too overcast. I mean, it's not actually overcast, but even at night, it's really diffuse. The light is Sarah Connor. Thank you. I wanted to say Linda Hamilton, but I couldn't remember the character. But the light is so diffuse because of the just chemical debris in the air. I'm worried that I'm not worried, but people will find any reason to dismiss my experiment if it's not like perfect conditions. So I'm going to probably have to do it. There's a full moon come Thanksgiving. So I'm going to try to set things up to do it kind of repeatedly up until then. And hopefully there'll be a clear day, and maybe a few days after Thanksgiving, there'll be a clear day. But I want to get a full moon. I want to get as much moon as possible. Yeah. So is it clouds or smoke? It's smoke. It's yeah, it's not clouds. I mean, we have our basic Bay Area overcast that happens, but on top of that, I think you probably saw it on Facebook yesterday. Jesse had gone out to work out, and I took a picture of the sun because I could look at the sun without blinking. It's just one of those things. It's like, you know, the air is bad if you can look at the sun and you don't feel the need to squint. You can just look at it. And that's what I was doing. So that's just my standard. It's like what's the standard of air quality? If you can look at the sun without squinting, it's not good. So that's where we are right now. Full moon in yeah. When is the eclipse? I don't know if I have some stuff going on, so I'll have to figure that out. Yeah. What's the date on the eclipse, and where is it at? Can somebody feed me that information? If the sun, yes. So question, Ronnie, if the sun is so small and local, why has it not run out of fuel over the eons of burning? Well, that's because it's magical God sun. That's why it has nothing. You can't, those kind of questions don't work for globe deniers because they have magic. So that's where it goes. Lenny Harry, what do I think of the conspiracy theory that gospel music was invented by black people? The roots of rock and blues. Hold on, let me scroll back up on this one. That's a conspiracy theory that gospel music was invented by black people. Gospel music was invented by black people. That's not a conspiracy theory. That's why gospel music's so damn good. I'm an atheist, but damn, gospel music, they know how to put their stuff together. You gotta admit. Problem I have with gospel music sometimes is that it can so good, and you can get into it so much as long as you don't listen to the lyrics. Once I listen to what they're saying, I'm like, I get taken out of it altogether. But if I can just stay with it and just go with the energy and the flow. Um, it's awesome. Because, and you can hear my voice again, Morris. Because one thing that that religion has done that is good for the world is that it's inspired people to create things. I mean, you don't have to have religion to be inspired to create things, but people who are religiously inspired, they can create some amazing things if they think that they're working toward a greater purpose. And so gospel music is one of them. It's like, man, come on, man, the energy put into gospel music, and the art, you know, is just amazing stuff. Yeah, it's too it's not just that it's too preachy sometimes. It's also sometimes too simplistic. It's, just talking about, the power of this child and wanting to worship them and holding them up high and the power that they have and the love that's so pure. It's so sappy and simplistic. That's the lyrics. But the way they arrange it and the way they put it together is like, you know what? That's some damn good sound right there. That is a damn good sound. Just don't listen to the lyrics. Yeah. It's kind of like the flip side of like some of my, really good rap. It's like, damn, that's a good beat. Damn, that hits hard. I just have to ignore what the person is saying because I just go with the energy of it. You can Christian rock. Yeah, okay. I've never been impressed by Christian rock. That's different. So I think he's thinking of bluegrass music originating in Ireland. Yeah, you have, there's cross pollination on all this stuff, though. I mean, that's the thing. Nothing exists very few things exist in a vacuum. Like gospel blues, rhythm and blues. Come on, you ever hear the music white people wrote during the 19th century? That's funny, Christian. That's funny. Let's see. I like rock just fine. We're talking about Christian rock. What's your opinion? What's my opinion that flirters are too poor to afford school, and we are their teachers? Seems like it. Seems like it. Let's see. Hold on, let me quick. See if anything's happening over here on Discord, real quick. See if anybody's trying to get a hold of me. Don't want to ignore things over there. I think Young Blue. I think we're going to be doing questions. If certain people show up, we might have people join in. But right now, I'm just going to be kind of free-forming it and trying to keep it as controlled as possible. Thank you for asking. Yeah. Now, let's see. I saw something real quick about Turkish forces going on. I'm not up to date on what's going on over there these days. Sorry about that. Pliskin bot farm. Big Con, like Comic Con, or well. So Ash Scott is asking about the title of my stream here. There was a Flat Earth conference this weekend. So whether or not it's like Comic-Con or an actual con is up to you. But there was the Flat Earth conference that went on this weekend, which looked laughable. I saw some live footage. I know D Marble was streaming some stuff, and it looked like the saddest looking like jobs, kind of a expo, or you go to a meeting hall and there's like a half dozen jobs recruiters or high school information booths just around. It was a fairly decent sized room that was 75% empty with maybe a dozen or so tables around the outside. It looked really, really kind of tragic. But hey, D was going around looking pretty proud about being there because he is the flat earthers, black friend. So he's pretty popular there. How am I doing today? Yeah, voice could be better. Just the act of, talking. Problem is when you have bad air quality and you talk a lot, Yeah, it screws things up. If I just knew how to shut up, my voice wouldn't bother me. But I have the gift of gab and the tendency to prattle on, so my voice gets screwed up. Speaking of which, give me 1 minute. I need to close the door because I know I'm going to irritate people in the other room talking. So I'm going to just get up and walk across there. The rest of the fam is asleep, so I just want to make sure I keep it down. Let's see. What did I miss? Make it again. I try not to make fun of I don't make fun of homeschool people, especially look, as a person who is raising a child in the Oakland public school system. I am not going to knock homeschooling. I have a son who's 13 years old. We're going to be he's going into high school next year. Yeah, Oakland has pretty much one good school. And it's not just like one school that's better than the others. We have one like good, high quality school that pretty much everybody wants to get into. Luckily, we live in that school district. So it is our neighborhood school. But we also have a lottery system here. But the fact is our neighborhood school pretty much means we're going to get in. But we're looking at other options just in case he doesn't get in. And when it comes down to it, if he doesn't get into Oakland Tech, I'm probably going to end up having to send that kid to private school because just the other schools just aren't up to snuff. My kid is too smart. He's too inquisitive. He's too ambitious. He has too many things he wants and needs to do. He excels too well to be put in some of the quality schools that we have here. So as a parent in the Oakland public school system, the idea of homeschooling is not, outrageous given the quality of some of the schools that we have here. So I'm not going to knock homeschooling, but the problem is not everyone is a good teacher, and the idea that I can just keep my kid at home and teach them is not understanding the importance of actual good teachers and people who are good at their job. So it's not the homeschooling that's the problem. It's the homeschoolers that tend to be the problem. My personal opinion. Blues Brothers is a classic. Just watched it like a couple weeks ago. I watch that at least once a year. Blues Brothers is a classic. I think it's brilliant. Yeah. What's this about Mark Sargent? Did he not show up or something like that? By the way, I'm loving the infighting that I'm seeing. How am I with quantum mechanics? I'm okay. I'm not great with quantum mechanics, mostly because I've been focusing on other things. I used to be more up on it, but I'm not. It takes me a while to get back into the groove of it. So Mark Sargent just left. Oh, the sequel to Blues Brothers that doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. Let's just say that. So he was there and then he left. I'm loving the infighting and the drama that's going on there. I think it's hilarious. I guess I saw a video the other day of, I guess it was a few months old, of Eric Dubay just ripping all of the all the other flat earthers for I don't know, for trying to be leaders and trying to take the movement places where he doesn't want to go. So he was just going down the list of just different flat earthers and just mocking them. And it looked pathetic on his part. He looked terrible doing it. It looked petty on his part. So it made him look bad. But at the same time, he was dissing all these other globe denying people, which made them look pathetic. So it was like, it's a win-win. It's like a knife fight between two, a-holes. Great. Don't you blaspheme in here. Oh, that's why I was watching Blues Brothers a while back, because of Aretha Franklin. Yes, Egbert calls them all fakers, and fine, you can fight amongst yourselves. That's awesome. That's one thing I find very interesting. And of course, they'll say it's all part of the conspiracy, but um, there are people on my end of things, the kind of the science supporter side, that we have different methodologies of doing things. We have different approaches to doing things. You know, I don't do the things the way Red's Rhetoric does it, or Sly, or Team Skeptic, or Wolfie, or Critical Think. We all kind of do things differently, but and we all approach things at slightly different angles. But you don't hear us arguing amongst ourselves over petty garbage. Uh, because you know it's because the science isn't about the ego. It's not. Math doesn't give a fuck. It just doesn't. And so you don't see that, you know, amongst us. If I say something that, you know, or I write something that is inaccurate about, and I've done it before because I'm not a big camera person. I remember said something about film or whatever, and someone corrected me, and I'm like, thanks, man. Thanks for correcting me. You know, what you're not stepping on my toes. That's something you know a little bit more about. So there we go. It's not about ego. It's just about facts. But on their side, uh, there's so much, you know, personal passion and ego and reputation involved that they just fight amongst themselves like cats, and it's hilarious. So we're still talking about Blues Brothers. Yes, Aretha, Ray Charles, Cap Calloway was awesome. You know, and I saw that movie back. Christian, you're old enough. You probably saw it back when it came out. I saw it when it came out. It was awesome then, and it holds up. Actually knew a couple dancers in the street dancing scene. One of my instructors when I was younger worked for Alvin Ailey Dance, and I was living in Des Moines, Iowa, but Shirley Rushing, um, who danced with Alvin Ailey, she used to come and do work. She used to tour and do workshops, and um, as a young person, I did a lot of dance, and yeah, I did. I think dance is awesome. Uh, Still do now to a certain degree, what my knees can take. But and so she was in that street scene, which was always a big deal. Oh yeah, John Lee Hooker. Yeah, on the street. That was awesome. Hmm. Let's see. Did the death of Stan Lee hit me hard as a comic fan? Well, honestly, not so much because I had been watching his life for a while, and it seemed that that he just wasn't happy, that things were not going well for him, and I thought that was more painful to see the fighting amongst his family, and the talk of, like, you know, elder abuse and things like that. I thought that was worse. So so his death didn't hit me that much. It was more like a relief. Um, so no, on that sense. And I also understand the reality of Stan Lee about of, you know, how much he actually did create versus how much he promoted. You know, he promoted and he created a universe of characters, in terms of, like, he created a universe for those characters to live in. But if you know, if there wasn't a Steve Ditko, Jack Kirby, John Romita, if those folks didn't exist, you know, no one would be talking about Stan Lee. Yeah. But there could have been no Stan Lee, and those guys still would have been creating amazing stuff. Yeah. So, what do I think about Hollow Earth? I don't think about Hollow. I think that's asinine. Um, I'm sure you can come up with a lot of inverted math and make it seem like it works, but it's yeah. Well, if you're talking about a hollow Earth in the sense of, like, we're living on the inside of the Earth and everything kind of mathematically works, if you kind of put things on a kind of what's it called, exponential scale, so that things that seem to be getting farther away are actually going at a decreasing rate, things like that. You could come up with the math, but no, it makes no sense to me. Jesse, you were into DC. You're a huge. See, I was never a huge Superman fan until like the movies came, because those books were so cheesy. I mean, I had them; they were so bad. Lois Lane, Superman's girlfriend, Jimmy Olsen, Superman's best friend. All those, they didn't work for me. Actually, the one book I think that kept me going, with DC, what really made me stick with DC, was the Superman versus Muhammad Ali giant size special, but with Neil Adams. That was a gorgeous book. I remember getting that. And I followed Neil Adams' work, so he was doing things on Batman, and that was great stuff. But Superman, it wasn't never doing it. Let's see. Oh, sorry. Yeah. If you have any questions that I can't catch up to, because these things are flying by, I have the delay on for about 30 seconds. But if you can address them to Young Blue Skeptic, anything that, like, serious, especially, if it's frivolous stuff about comics and things like that, don't worry, you can just send them to me. But if you want to send questions that are, pertaining to science that you really want to make sure I see, send them to Young Blue Skeptic. That would be great. And I don't think Ann on is on, so just go with Young Blue. So let's see. I've missed a bunch going by here. Which one are you talking about? You're saying, Jesse, you're saying Age has the Superman Muhammad Ali one? Is that what one you're talking about? I'm going to slow this down a little bit more. This is going a little fast. So sorry, folks. I'm going to slow you down just a little bit. I'm going to bring you down to 45 seconds. Yeah, that was a great book. That was a great book. Too bad Neil Adams is crazy. Yeah, too bad about that. But still a brilliant creator. But he's a fringe scientist. This ball will never live. No, yeah. It is a good book, and it's beautifully done. It's beautifully done. But yeah, it's at some point I'll tell you my Neil Adams story, because he hates me. At least he used to. He probably doesn't remember me now, but he was the first person that I went at on the internet debunking, and so he hates me. Which, I don't know. I kind of like. Oh, by the way, let's see. I got a super chat from Andrew Salhani. You've done this before, I think. So thank you very much for your support there. It's very much appreciated. Let me go back to. Come on, go back. Okay, I need to get back to live chat, top chat, and live chat. Here we go. Cool. Paul Barrett. Yeah, you've asked me this before. No, that was not me. Sean Hawkins, did I draw pictures of celebrities on Hate Street in the 90s? No, that was not me. So, but since you've asked a couple times, I'm curious who that person is. Submitted Paul Barrett. Let's see, where are you putting these questions here, Young Blue? Are you going to send those to me on the Discord, Young Blue? Those would be great. What is my take on pyramids being generators of electricity? I don't think they were that advanced. New age, low age, blah 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 blah. Hey, everybody. Hey, Zora. Oh, yeah, you knew him. You thought it'd be okay. Cool. The irony of using CGI on my live stream thumbnail. That's funny. That's funny. Why is it the only thing Americans care about is fighting flat earthers and building a wall in Mexico? I don't think that's the case. Not a Pliskin bot farm. I don't think that's the case. Most Americans don't give a goddamn about flat earthers, for one. They don't. And I'm doing this for the hobby of it. And most of us don't care about building a wall. There's a lot of media about building a wall. Our president would like to talk about building a wall, but he's not going to get the money to build a wall. So, because most Americans don't care about building a wall. Most of us care about what's going on with our healthcare system, what's going on with environmental regulation, what's going on with education, but most don't care about building a wall. Super chat from Joshua. Thank you very much, Joshua. Joshua Russick. Thank you. He says one or two people can actually make science cool again. Trying. And I actually have some projects that are more toward that end, more about presenting science in an interesting way than just dissing people who are bad at it. So thank you very much. We're going to try to keep that going. Yeah, I don't understand people who try to justify their anti-science belief by using science organizations. Are there videos about moon phases and how the sun seemingly moves below the moon and how its position changes through the night? I'm not exactly sure what that question is. The sun seemingly moves below the moon and how its position changes through the night. I'm not quite sure what you're saying there. My apologies. It's probably just me not absorbing the information correctly. Young Blue, I see you've kind of designated a few things, but I'm not seeing where you've posted any questions. Are you posting questions to me on Discord directly between us, or how are you doing it? Yeah, I see you calling out people like at Stefan Berlin, but I'm not seeing these questions. Can you post them to me over on the Discord? Let's see. And Dejan, I'll take a look at that. Okay, he's put him in the mod channel. Thank you. Didn't see it in the mods. Excellent. Here we go. I had the wrong screen up. Let's see what we got here. You can't copy and paste from one. Gotcha. I see your issue. Okay, cool. Bum, bum, bum. Let's see who's going on there. Yeah. Thanks, Young Blue. I got him. So first one is, do you, let's see, from Madonna, do you see sparring with an opponent in various forms of martial arts as a form of dancing? Sometimes. What I like to do is, when it comes to sparring is, I like to play mind games. Depending on the person I'm going up against and what their style is, I may have a picture in my head, like, and it's a good exercise to take the stress out of sparring with someone. You can decide to spar with somebody. You're gonna say, okay, it's me against you. Let's just go. I'm just gonna go at you. Or you can decide, like what I'll do, if someone's particularly an aggressor or something like that, I'll put it in my head that I'm a teacher, and I'm going to teach this person something, and so I have the mind of a teacher. So I don't want to hurt them because they're my student. but at the same time, I want to, bestow a lesson to them. So in my mind, I will shift my focus, and so that'll cause me to move differently. If I think I'm just going to go head to head with this person, I'm going to move a certain way. But if I think in terms of I'm a teacher and I'm gonna show this person something, I will move differently. If I decide I'm a cat and this person's a mouse and I'm just going to play, I will move differently. And so, or I can decide that, you know what, I'm going to dance with this person. And it can throw them off completely, depending on what their game is. So yes, I will do it as a form of dance sometimes, and then turn it on and off. It's like, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of act like the letter Q. It's like, so it's all circles, all circles, all circles, and then straight lines, as a way of doing things with people. So yes, I will look at it as a form of dance, a lot of times. That keeps you, it keeps you kind of balanced and keeps your flow good. And it keeps you from being, like getting, stressed out about it. We got another super chat from Anthony. Thank you very much. I will take a look at the electrical properties of the pyramids. Thank you very much for that request. What is my finishing moves? I am a incredible proponent of elbows. If you get close enough that I can get an elbow on you, it's going to be dangerous. I enjoy that. Double leg sweeps I enjoy, but I don't have a particular move, a specific move, because if I did, it would be I'd be too predictable. But I tend to use elbows. I tend to use the crook of the arm is something that a lot of people aren't prepared for. Oh yeah, we'll talk about that offline, young blue. The crook of the arm is something that it's powerful that a lot of people aren't prepared for. This kind of snapping clothesline motion. You can get close to someone and you can do a lot of action without there's no ramp up, there's no telegraph on those. So I like to get in close and use short, powerful motions on people. That's my thing. I like to be close. Let's see. Is there any science guys union in the U.S.? I don't know if there is, but there is an organization that's in town that does science education. I'm looking at getting into. I'm going to walk up to their building at some point. Let's see. I'm going to go to more of these questions that were already asked that I missed. Let's see. Is it possible that evolution and creation are both wrong? Depends on what you mean by, wrong. It's completely possible that there are mechanisms that we don't know about yet. And that's the whole point of science. The whole thing with evolution is about how life has changed since there was life. Creation is about the creation of life. There are two different things. Creation is about the creation of life. There was something created life. Evolution isn't about creation of life. That's getting into abiogenesis and things like that. Evolution is about once there is life, what happens to it. So those are two different things. But it's completely possible that there are mechanisms within biology that are working with that are causing evolution to happen the way it does that we don't know about. It's completely possible. So that's the reason you don't consider it completely settled science when it comes to these things. That's why there are evolutionary theories. There are different mechanisms. There's natural selection, but that's only one. There's genetic drift. There's all sorts of, there's mutation. All these different mechanisms, they all work different ways, and they all work in conjunction with each other, and sometimes against each other. So it's always possible that there are going to be mechanisms that we're not aware of. Let's see. Okay, so let's see. Evolution is a belief that hasn't actually been proven. There was a 30-year experiment that failed to show evolution. Yeah, sorry. I don't know what you're talking about there. There's plenty of evidence for evolution. I always say that we discover math, not created. I think Jesse might have asked me this question once, and I think I might have done it in a video. that we discover math, not create it. Do you believe that it could be true? Yes. I think the math is kind of our kind of interpretation of the properties that we see in the universe. The properties are there. Math is, it's kind of like the the dimensions of the universe. That's the property that's within the universe. It's up to us to tease it out of what's already there. The relationships already exist, though. But it kind of goes both ways. Yes, the math is there, but there are different pathways to the same thing. So we create this language in order to describe that. So, question is math the property of the universe, or is it the language we use to describe it? And so they kind of go back and forth. It's, I don't think it's as simple as, oh, the math already exists and we just discovered it. But we translated it into the way our brain works. So it kind of goes both ways. Yes, it was. Yeah, it was a long time ago, Jesse. But I do remember. It's amazing what actually sticks in your head. Was a super chat from that I see another super chat come in. Got that one. Okay, cool. Let's go back in there. Paul Barrett. I study. I study trust and how we apply it on the internet. I'm interested in why you think people are so ready to trust conspiracy theory on the internet or scientists with evidence. I think there's a certain, why are people so ready to trust a conspiracy theory on the internet over a scientist with evidence? I think things resonate with people. If something feels right, feels true, if it fits with what we want, we are more likely to accept it. And one thing we do not want to feel is wrong. So if someone tells us something that is contrary to what we already believe, we are less likely to believe it because we hate being wrong. While if someone tells you something that may be fringe, but it still fits with what you already believe, then you're more likely to accept it because it reaffirms your rightness. And so I think that happens a lot when it comes to conspiracy theories. There's the idea that someone is in charge of things. A lot of people feel the need, it seems to me, a lot of people feel the need to have someone in charge. Even if they're a bad guy, at least there's somebody in charge. Globe only in my imagination. Hey, you can say that if you want, but thank you for the super chat, Renee. And just so you know, all of you who have done a super chat, I appreciate it. I appreciate it greatly. You might want to consider becoming a patron. I have a Patreon page, patreon.com/Greatersapien. For $1, you can get $1 a month. You get early access to the videos I'm putting up on YouTube. I actually already have one up there. It'll probably go on YouTube in a couple days. It's a small one, but it'll go on YouTube in a couple days. But it's already up on my Patreon. What I'll be doing is I will be putting things up on the Patreon at least 1 or 2 days before they go live on YouTube. And there are going to be some videos that will be there that will never go on YouTube. There'll be more just me communicating with people, letting people know about projects coming up and things like that. And they'll just be there on Patreon for patrons to see. And then final products will make it to YouTube. So I thank you all for your patronage through the live chat. But if you're willing to put 50 Aussie dollars toward the live chat, toward super chat, maybe consider in the future just putting $1 American dollar toward Patreon, and then you'll get some little more benefit than what I'm giving you here in this conversation. Yeah, because I'd like to be able to give you guys more. Let's see. I'm still going to some of these questions that were asked before, so I apologize for some things I'm missing in the chat. Let's see. Bum, 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 bum. Actually, I haven't seen the Harvard paper on that interstellar object gaining speed. I haven't read that paper, but I think it's interesting. I think it's probably due to off gassing and things like that. But I think it's interesting. I wish we'd known about it soon enough that we were able to send something out there. My favorite physics book, maybe Six Easy Pieces, Richard Feynman, maybe. Feynman just has a really good way of talking about things. There's some old Asimov books from like the 70s. The 70s and 80s that were really good too. But I like Richard Feynman's voice when it comes to talking about these things. So maybe I think it was Six Easy Pieces. That was it. Let's see. If you wanted to demonstrate liquid sticking to a sphere in 0G, what mass would the sphere need to be to demonstrate the human that to the human eye? Can't. Well, the problem is, at first, like the first force that's going to be acting since you're in 0G is going to be like surface tension. So even if you put a certain amount of water on a mass, there would be surface tension. Now, especially if you did it proportionally. If you think about it, the Earth, and I'm going to do this here. I always have this guy right here. So this is the Earth. All right. Now, people think about this as being, a whole lot of water, but proportionate to this, to the body, there's really not that much water on this thing. It's covering a lot, but there's really not that much. So literally, it would probably be, less than a millimeter deep on this thing if this was actually, wet with the proportionate amount of water. The mountains you wouldn't be able to feel because they're not high enough. Mountains just aren't that high. You wouldn't really notice it. The water would just be damp, but it wouldn't be deep. There's just not much there. So if you have a ball and you're in free fall, let me set this down here. If you have a ball and say you're in 0G, you're in free fall, and you're trying to do that representation, almost any amount of water you have on that object is going to be much more than is actually on the Earth proportionally. You would literally just have to get it damp, just the slightest bit damp, just a little bit, and that would be as much water as there is on the Earth. And that will stick to it just by surface tension. So it's really hard to, so right off the bat, you could show that and people would just say, well, that's due to surface tension. It's not due to gravity, so it's one of those things where it'd be very difficult to convince somebody that knows, that understands the reality of it. So you'd have to put a whole bunch of water on there, which is nothing like the Earth. The Earth isn't like a ball with big bulbous waves of water all over the place. It's got a thin skin of water on it. So how much? Not exactly sure. But that might be interesting to try to calculate. Yeah, I'll have to keep that in mind. Mm-hmm. How do I think the flat Earth movement will finally end? It will just kind of fade. People will just move on to other things slowly, but I don't think it will ever truly end because it was never gone. This is just a medium that they're allowed to speak in public on. There was always people that would promote this type of thing. There was just no place for anybody to hear them. Now there is. So I think it will just fade out, and people will just stop talking. They may still believe it, but they'll be more quiet about it eventually. They'll move on to something else. Let's see. Your thoughts on registering marksargent.com in 2012 and registering flat earth phone apps. I don't know what that is about. Metatron. I don't know what that's about. The only wall, it was this Adonel said the only wall they want to see built is the wall to separate religious influence from secular government. Yeah, I'm with you on that. Mhm. On a scale of Rocky Mountains to Elizabeth, New Jersey, what's the air quality here? They say that the air quality here is 5 times worse than Beijing right now. All right? 5 times worse than Beijing. That's some scary noise right there. Do I think that the highly divisive paradigms of flat Earth versus globe, right versus left, man versus woman, black versus white are getting better or worse? Qualitatively, I can't say whether or not they're better or worse. They are getting more prominent, though. Um, they it goes in phases. They go up and down. Like right now, here in the United States, we actually have a leader who promotes divisiveness, unlike any we've ever had. So I think we're worse in that case. I mean, you actually have a president of the United States who is actively um, trying to activate parts of the American populace against other parts of the American populace. Actually, trying to activate the American populace against a free press. We are in an amazingly unique time where the people at the highest level of influence are using that influence to be purposely divisive. So I think it's worse. Um, there's going to need to be a lot of, lack of a better word, healing after Trump is gone to try to figure this out. Uh, so yeah, it's not good. What do I think of Logan Paul becoming a flat earther? Now that has come up, and it was something I was going to touch on. I don't think Logan Paul has become a flat earther. I think Logan Paul is an opportunist. I think Logan Paul is looking for way. I mean, come on, he was just doing like freaking internet fights or whatever. I think he's looking for an in to another fan base, to more influence, uh, and so I have no reason to believe that his beliefs are valid at all. And I have a feeling a lot of flat earthers who, excuse me, globe deniers who uh, want that spotlight, that want to keep their influence, are not going to be happy with him being involved in it. So it'll be fun to watch them, you know, scramble and fight, and the crabs in the tank crawling over each other. Some flat earther compared me to Logan Paul. I don't remember that. Who was that? Young Blue. That's hilarious. I did not know any flat earther had done that. Dun, 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 dun. So Mark Sargent has controlled opposition. Okay, good for you for thinking that. Anna Lema destroyed the globe because Polaris is fixed up. Actually, Polaris is not fixed. So right off the bat, you're wrong, Renee. Polaris is not fixed. It's not in a fixed position. If you do a time lapse uh, photo of a Polaris, it makes a little circle. It is not dead center, and it's been drifting for hundreds of years, and it will continue to drift. It didn't used to be our pole star, and it won't be forever. So that's just wrong. Logan Paul went to Denver Flat Earth Con to film a dead movement. Yeah. Let's see. Yes, Polaris wobbles. Logan Paul stunt is flat Earth jumping the shark. Pretty much. Pretty much. Oh, got a new one over here. Hold on. Can't see that one. Would I ever debate Kent Hovind? No, he is not worth my time. And I have a hard time with the idea of truly debating creationists because there's no convincing them, and they don't believe in valid arguments. That's the problem with debating certain people, is they will make up anything for the purpose of their argument. And you can't prepare for people to just make up stuff. They'll just say, well, according to evolution, blah, 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 blah. And you're like, who said that? When? That that was never said. Oh, you're not aware of that? Well, then how can you say you know what evolution's about? Because you just made that up. How am I supposed to? Nope, that's what. Yeah, so I don't have time for that. But one thing I did find interesting, and that just ties into this whole flat Earth convention conference thing. I saw a video of D Marbles. He was doing live streams from there every so often, so I peek in, and because I get notices since we're so connected now, I get notices, and so he was doing a live stream, and someone came up and started talking to him about the religious influence. I'm not ignoring it. It just shows that you don't understand it. That's all that is, Renee. I'll get to that one in a second. And so someone came up to Marble and asked about, are there any flat Earth? How did he put it? Flat Earth influencers, I think he put it, that aren't religiously based. Is that like a requirement? And Marble said, yeah, there are some. There's Eric Dubay. He's not here, but I don't think he's religious. And so then he went on to talk about how people in the flat Earth community aren't necessarily religious. There's they can be spiritual, and and they can understand the validity of the Bible, but not be part of a rigid religious structure. And I thought that was interesting. Because oftentimes, he doesn't go out and talk about the Bible a lot, but he does talk about, every so often he talks about Scripture. And when someone tells me, when someone talks about Scripture, that means they give, the Bible a certain level of authority that compared to other things. And the fact that he was saying that people aren't necessarily religious in the flat Earth world, flat Earth community, but they had a spiritual bend, and that they understood the validity of the Bible. And a person said, so as long as they understand, and the person talking to him kind of summed it up. So it's like, so you're saying they don't necessarily have to be Christian or anything, but as long as they kind of agree with the basic premise of the Bible's validity, it's they can be down with the movement. And he was like, yeah. And so it's like, and I saw that, and I was like, see, that's why you're not convincible. It's really it's faith-based, religious-based, Bible-based, goal setting. It's already done. It has to be in line with this biblical view. Even if you're not religious, it still has to be this kind of a spiritual, mystical attachment to it. And so it doesn't matter what science says. You have to go with that. And speaking of which, I think it was Flat Earth Vegan or whoever that guy is that does a live stream with Marble on Fridays. He had a bit, and he was talking about the people going to the convention and things like that. And he has a lot of issues with people in the flat Earth community. But one thing that he said that I thought was very telling is that he had a problem with the fact that flat earthers can't let go of science. They just can't let it go, and that's always going to hold them back. And I thought that was very telling. It's like, oh, well, he's saying it, that he's anti-science. So that's going to be, it's always going to be a problem with that movement, is this weird relationship they have with spirituality and science and anti-science. It's always going to make it difficult to actually debate and have a conversation with them. Has there ever been any pro-flat Earth evidence? All we hear is globe denying and geocentric nonsense. Well, that's why I tend to call them globe deniers instead of flat earthers. The fact is, there are things. I'm going to make sure I say my sentences correctly, because if I say a sentence incorrect, it's going to get sampled and used by globe deniers against me. So I got to make sure I say it right. There is evidence that works in both realms. If you keep the distance down, if for example, if you can look at sun angles from really close by, and so that will work with a nearby sun, or it'll work with a distant sun because you're limiting your observations. So there are segments that will fit different, will fit a flat Earth scenario. But in aggregate, when you pull them all together, flat Earth can't hold on to it. Only the globe model fits. But what they'll do is they'll look at this and they go, see, that shows a certain level of flatness. It's like, yes, go out bigger though, go out more, get larger scale, and that flatness will go away. But they won't go that far. They'll hold it to what they can. So there are limitations in which these concepts work, because the Earth is almost flat. That's the thing. The Earth is almost flat. But since it's not, it's not flat, just almost, it ends up, curving around. The sun is also almost flat. If you, get close to it, it'll be like that. But the fact is, it's not. And since it's closer to flat than the Earth is flat, it ends up being an even bigger, spherical object. So, yeah, there's like borderline evidences that they hold on to, but in the aggregate, it doesn't work. Would I debate D Marble? I'd like to have a conversation with him, not so much a debate, a conversation. That's what I would like to have. I don't know how they explain that, Patrick. I haven't watched them talk about that enough to be able to explain how flat earthers explain that. Let's see if there are is there any questions that were off to the side. So I'm just going to share this real quick, just because I did get some responses from some videos. So I'm going to do a quick screen share. I'm going to do application. This one. All right. So I did my last video, which was on Banjo's explanation about the emergency landings. So I got this response from Banjo. Hey man, only today I had a time to look at my messages and find your link. I sent him a link so he could see what it was, because he's been trying to communicate with me when he was trying to help me. So I sent him a link. Won't have time anytime soon to make a video responding to this video of yours. I have a few projects going right now with my small business, and we're working on making some flat earth videos in Japanese. But it will come, although it will take me several weeks to put something together. Why would it take several weeks? Honestly, it literally took me no time to make a video taking down his video. It's pretty straightforward, but that's okay. But one thing, though, I'll leave here to your subscribers: no curvature plus no motion equals no globe. Luckily, we have plenty of evidence of curvature. We have ring lasers testing motion, and thus we have a globe. So planes fly straight because the Earth is flat. The problem is that doesn't make any actual sense. Not sure when you're going to have eyes to see and have common sense to understand. You're going to keep on defending the globe model. When you see in 1 or 2 years in the news reports of an explosion in the sky, when they will say the ISS exploded due to a possible alien attack or meteor hit, you will understand that there never was an ISS in the first place. Difficult days lie ahead, all due to the satanic, heliocentric humanist teachings and the television programmings. Good luck to you, though, and your whole family. This is what we're supposed to have a reasonable conversation with. This is the person these are people we're supposed to have a reasonable conversation with. So his claim is that there's going to be a conspiracy to explode the ISS due to a possible alien attack. I guess they'll fake an alien attack or say a meteor hit to cover up the fact that there's no ISS in the first place. And he's got no evidence of this. There's always a chance there'll be a meteor hit. So, there's a chance he could be right. There's a meteor hit. And of course, it's a satanic, heliocentric humanist teaching. So there's the religious aspect of things. And of course, there's the silly television comment. But so this is the type of mentality we're dealing with here. Common sense doesn't. He talks about common sense, but he's just making stuff up that has nothing to do with common sense. This is the opposition, folks. Yeah, I don't know much about Banjo, but apparently he is. Just looking at that, when he's talking about this being satanic and being against humanists or whatever, then that tells me that there's an extreme religious aspect going on here. See, were there any other questions that I had on here? Someone asked, I think on my my announcement, how much would I need to earn from YouTube to do it full time? And there's a little back and forth here going on, but I would probably need to do, I would say, between 5 and 8 times my yearly salary in order to do it full time, because there's always a chance, because the internet is fickle. And so you can blow up for a year, and you can blow up for a year and then fizzle away. And so I would need to make enough money in that year to sustain myself for a couple years as I try to reestablish myself back into my industry. So that's what would have to happen. Let's see. Any other questions? Let's see. Let me get to a couple other questions here. I think I already mentioned this one. Yeah, I think Logan Paul is playing the flat Earth community. He's using his celebrity to gain fans from them, and then at some point he will discard them, like they don't matter to him, because they don't. I don't think they matter to him at all. Oh, here's an interesting one. Question. I heard that you support gun ownership. About 40,000 people in America die from guns each year. Here in the UK, with few guns, is less than 100. How the F can you justify this as freedom? I support gun ownership in the sense that I believe people have the right to own guns. But if you were to ask me if I think people should own guns, that's a different thing altogether. I'm not in favor of it. I happen to own one myself because I inherited it. It has no bullets. I don't keep it anywhere where I can get to it. But I inherited a gun, and so I have one technically, but I have no bullets to it. I have no desire to use them. But but I do believe that people have the right to self-protection, and that's just as human beings, they have a right to self-protection. But I believe that there should be limits on that. I don't support the Second Amendment of the Constitution as a blanket catch-all. You can have any weapon you want because it says arms, and thus you get to have any arms you want. And most people don't believe that. I believe that there should be some type of restriction on what people can own, and there should be some qualifications for them to have them. But I also believe that they have the right to people have the right to defend themselves. The problem is that same tool that a reasonable person can use to defend themselves can be used for ill reasons. But that doesn't mean people should not have the right to defend themselves. So I do believe that. So I don't support gun ownership in the sense of I think people should own guns, but I think people have the right to self-defense, and gun ownership is part of that. But I don't think that should be unregulated. I don't think it should be free and easy. And honestly, I don't think it's a particularly good idea for people to go around owning guns, and so I don't support it in that sense. So there's that. Let me cut back to me here. Looks like we have a few more. Let's see. Paul A is asking if the flight, I'm assuming that is the pole-to-pole flight, will ever be on again. That flight, apparently, you can ask whether or not it'll be on again, but apparently it was never on in the first place. It was fraudulent on the part of the organizer, so they were never truly going to allow that flight to happen. But I do have things in the works. I'm not ready to announce them yet, because unlike before, where it was like, hey, I'm going to do this thing, I'm going to do this thing, it's going to be great, we're going to do this months down the line. Time goes on, oh, things are screwing up, and now it's not going to happen. I wish I hadn't said all that about it. I'm pretty close to right now finalizing some plans, but even after those plans are finalized, I'm not going to announce it until I'm actually doing it. So then there won't be like a lead up of, hey, this is about to happen, and then if things go wrong, because if I fall down and break a leg, then people will say that, oh, I was lying about doing that trip, it never happened. So I do have things, something in mind, and you will learn about it as soon as it's absolutely definitely happening. It should be it'll be fun, but yeah, something's going to happen. The most absurd flat Earth belief. Let's see. Is there any plans to have a Globe Earth convention? That's like, no. No. What's the most absurd flat Earth belief I've encountered? So many facets. I mean, I love the Morgul stuff about the sun and moon kind of rendering in your brain, being decoded by your brain. I thought that was great. Anytime anybody talks about the Earth's accelerating upwards to cause gravity, that is awesomely insane and doesn't fit with science. Infinite plane with other planets and solar systems out there, those are pretty wacky. Yeah. Do I have a comment on the flat out hero 100K debacle? Yeah. So flat out hero was this guy who is trying to make his name for himself by challenging globe proponents. I don't know if I was the first one, but he came at me with a series of videos. Is like, I'm in a dark room, I'm calling you out, homo, calling you out, sucker. And it was like too obvious. And so I just kind of went, move along, scrub. But he started doing it to other people. And so then I guess he saw the press that the $10,000 challenge got. So he decided to up the ante and do a $100,000 challenge, which I thought was hilarious because he didn't claim that he had just like $100,000 he was just going to give to somebody. He even said, if you happen to win, I'll have to do it in $1,000 monthly payments. So that was like, okay. But his whole goal was just trying to make a name for himself by having that go viral or something. And he's gotten no subs from it. And all he's done is propel Wolfie 6020 to higher fame. Wolfie's subs a month ago were probably around 11,000. He had about 11,000 subs. And then Flat Earth Hero put out his $100,000 challenge, and Wolfie quickly bodied him with that one and got a bunch of views. And then there's some back and forth. And now Wolfie's at 40,000 subs, and Flat Earth Hero still at less than 800. So thank you very much, Flat Earth Hero, for propelling Wolfie 6020 to a level of subs that he's long since deserved, and for some reason wasn't getting. So thank you. Well done. Let's see. Ozzy's Energy. Sapien, are you thinking of ever visiting the land down under, as in Australia? Maybe. Moving on. Can answer the gun ownership issue involving hunters and they're using guns to take game for the purpose of eating. I don't have a problem with hunters using guns. I have a problem with hunters acting like they need to have fully automatic weapons for guns for hunting. That's what I have a problem with. But I've longtime friends. Some of my best friends in my entire life are gun owners that hunt on a regular basis, are responsible people that that use their weapons for the purpose of hunting and getting themselves, small game or even large game. They're responsible, people with an honest understanding of the capacity of the weapons that they're wielding. But they also don't go out with an AR-15 and call it a hunting rifle. They don't do that. The idea that you need those for hunting is asinine as far as I'm concerned. But I don't have a problem with game hunting at all. I have a problem with like big game hunting and trophy hunting and things like that. But people who, hey, people want to go out, especially in certain areas where you have a population of animals that are actually non-native, that are messing up the ecosystem. Yeah, I don't have a problem with that at all. Okay, let me get back to. Ooh, okay, a lot of chats going by that I did not see. All righty. Meat is good. Here's a question from Christian. I have an AR-15. Never fired it. Don't even own ammunition for it. I have no criminal record, no record of abuse, violence, or mental instability. Why should you not be allowed to own it? Well, you happen to own it, so I don't believe in taking it away from you. I don't. It's like, sorry, it's yours. Now, even if the laws change, if they become completely, completely outlawed, it's like, no, they're completely, totally banned. It's like, you know what? I think people should get grandfathered into the things that they already own. Yeah, I don't think you should not be able to own that. Now, the question is where is that line drawn? There are weapons that are made for the purpose of, the military, and then they trickle down to the public. And question is, should they ever trickle down to the public? And some things I'm like, you know what? That's just, we don't need to have those. And it's an arbitrary line. It is a totally arbitrary line when it comes to us putting limits on what people should and shouldn't have. We have to admit to ourselves that I'm coming up with a wholly arbitrary standard of what I think is a weapon that regular people should be able to own and not military people, because there's no factual border on these things. So the question is, for example, why shouldn't you be able to own a cannon, or why shouldn't you be able to own a minigun, or why shouldn't you be able to walk around have grenades? There's a line that we come up with, and that's what gun control is, as far as I'm concerned, is arguing about where that line should be. I don't know anyone, and I don't think Christian and I don't think we've had this conversation. But that's what I'm not talking about ARs. I'm talking about in general and other military things. But I can't remember what I was about to say. No, but grenade is not a gun, but it is arms. It is a weapon. That's the thing. So people will say that they don't believe in gun control, and I don't think that's legitimate. I think they do. It's just we're arguing over the line. Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing, Christian, is like, yeah, I think there is such thing as reasonable and rational gun control. Question is, we don't always agree on where that is, so that's where the debate comes in. Have you addressed conspiracies of California fires being caused? I haven't addressed it. I mentioned it earlier in this conversation. That's yes, there is a conspiracy theory about California fires being caused by directed energy weapons. And like I said, some people have said they're just drones going out there and setting. The problem is I don't know what the supposed goal of these things is. I guess it's to prove that global warming is real. I don't know what the purpose of that conspiracy is. Maybe someone can explain to me what the purpose of that conspiracy is. The fact is, we've had a drought in this state for a long time. Even though like a winter or two back, we had a decent amount of rain, but it didn't sustain. All it did was make things green again just for a minute, so they would then quickly dry up and then burn. So to say it's a conspiracy is denying the fact of the dry brush and the conditions of the climate here in California. Let's see. They are trying to silence GS. Who's trying to silence who? That's Kazin Zinti. I don't know who you're speaking about. Bum, bum, bum. PG&E started the fires by not replacing the. Well, that's different between saying they started the fires or their negligence caused the fires. There's a difference between the two. And again, saying that they started the fires due to their ineptitude is not necessarily a conspiracy. That's just negligence. Okay, let's see. Any other questions? Real quick that I had here. Bum, bum, bum. Got a lot of feedback on my whole ferrofluid thing. This is something that keeps coming up. I don't know why. Let me just do this real quick. In my last live stream, I think it was, at least a video back, I mentioned that the Earth was not a perfect sphere. And whenever someone says something like the Earth is not a perfect sphere, you get reactions like this. Now, first off, Kirk Jones, if you happen to be watching this, because I told you I was going to be addressing this in this video, you need to stop posting the same comment over and over again. Because if you do that, Kirk, that causes it to go to spam, which makes me have to go in and authorize it or not authorize it. What I'll do is I'll authorize one of them and I'll throw the rest away. But when you post the same comment 20 times, it's going to go to spam. Your comments are not so brilliant that everyone needs to see them on every comment thread. So do not continue to post the same comment over and over again. They will be deleted. It's not censorship. It's taking care of someone who's just being a troll. Now, I told you I would address your question. And I always wonder why people don't understand the reality of this. I say the Earth is not an actual sphere. I will say the Earth is not a perfect sphere. And people will say, but why are the pictures of the Earth looking like this? And why does it look like a perfect sphere? So right off the bat, what is a perfect sphere? A perfect sphere is a shiny, featureless, perfect ball. Smooth. It would be frictionless. It would be the smoothest thing ever if it was a perfect sphere. Now, we know from our experience that the Earth has features on it. There are hills, there are valleys, there are ups and downs. So right off the bat, even if its dimensions were perfectly spherical, like, if it's, all axes were the exact same radius away from the center, it would still not be a perfect sphere because it has surface features. It has hills and valleys, things like that. So right off the bat, it's not a perfect sphere. Secondly, its dimensions are not those of a perfect sphere. So I'm going to show you something here. I've done this before. Let's see. Let me stop sharing this here. And let's see if I can share a different application window. Let me find this for you. Hold on one sec. Got to do a little magic. Where is it at? Where is my Illustrator? There. Illustrator goes here. All right. So let me just do a quick screen share. Okay. So for those of you who wonder about spheres, perfect spheres, one of these is a perfect sphere. Let me make sure I can see you guys. And let me go to the live stream here so I can see your reactions. Okay. So one of these is a perfect sphere. I don't know if you I know there's a delay on here, but I don't know if you guys can pick the one in the top going across the screen, right, left, center, right. We got 1, 2, and 3. So this would be, let's see. This will be 1. This will be 2, and this will be 3. So which one is the perfect sphere? Can you tell? They're all only one of these is a perfect sphere. And you guys can just guess. It's you have a 30%, 33% chance of getting it right no matter what. And so the difference is, and someone is saying the difference is too small, the round one. And this is the thing. So what we have here, and let me explain which ones are which. So this one here is a perfect sphere. This one right here. This one is slightly oblate. I've made it a little bit wider than it is tall, just slightly, just like a 1 pixel out of 200 pixels wide or something. I made it 1 pixel wider, radius wise. This one is both oblate. It's the same dimensions as this one here, but I've also added a slight dimension down here by just adding a little more pear-shapedness, just by moving it out. Just a little more pear-shapedness. You do less to get it back to where it was. Just a little bit more. But otherwise, perfect sphere, slightly oblate, slightly pear-shaped. That's how they work. So, and on top of it, these things are perfectly smooth and they have no surface features whatsoever. So when I say that the Earth is not a perfect sphere, I'm talking about the fact that it has surface features. And since it has surface features, there can be flat valleys. Because the reason they say perfect spheres have no flat surfaces is their argument. There should be no flat surfaces on the Earth if it's a perfect sphere, which is why I say it's not a perfect sphere, because there are hills and valleys and flat surfaces all over the place. It happens. But And so when you say, why do all the NASA photos from space show a perfect sphere? It's one, they don't necessarily show a perfect sphere. They show something that you can't tell because it's so small. And on top of that, what people don't think about is the fact that when we speak of what the dimensions of the Earth are, we talk about the substance of the Earth. So we talk about the height, the width, the radius of the substance of the Earth. But when we're looking at photos of the Earth, we're not looking at the substance of the Earth. We're looking at the Earth itself plus the softened haze of the atmosphere around it. The atmosphere of the Earth isn't put into the measurements of the size of the Earth. We don't say that the Earth is X number of kilometers radius, including the atmosphere, because that's a gradient that kind of goes off to the to whatever distance before we consider it space. But there is a layer of fuzzy haze around the Earth that softens all the edges and blurs out these differences in dimensions. So not only when we're looking at the Earth from space, we're not looking at that perfect sphere or that imperfect sphere. We're looking at that imperfect sphere with a blurry, soft atmospheric haze around it that softens all those edges that much more, making it that much harder to recognize the difference in dimensions. But people never think about that. They just think that looks like a perfect sphere. The Earth is not supposed to be a perfect sphere. Well, that's also the atmosphere as well. So this is something that I thought I would bring up, and one of those things that rarely gets talked about. Yes, not perfect sphere. Let's see. Bum, bum, bum. Russian vids. I don't know about all that. Let's see. Any more questions from Young Blue over here? Okay, so I think we're good on that. All right. Anything else in the room? Thank you for keeping up on those, Young Blue. It's been very helpful. No, Reason Vision, not another circumnavigation event. Yeah, exactly, Darth Killer. That's my whole point. It's so subtle. The difference from perfection is so subtle that from when you're looking at a picture from of the whole Earth, the dimensions are too close to each other. Hold on one second, babe. Malachi, I'm doing a live at the moment. I'm gonna mute this for a second here. No, I'm doing a live. So take care. So see, now the other people in the house are up. They think I'm talking to them when I say something. So little discussion aside thing. I don't know where Young Blue is. Did he have to take off? All right. Well, I'll try to keep track of these things. Maybe I can just explain why we don't see different stars at different times of year. Actually, you do see different stars at different times of year. Also depends on where you are on the planet. So I'm going to pick up this globe a lot. Okay. So here you are on the Earth. Now, say you live somewhere down here near the equator. At one time of the year, let's call my head the sun. Okay. So at one time of the year, nighttime, you're over here. Okay. So we look at night, you see the stars over that way. All right. And it's one set of stars. The next time of year, nighttime, you're this way and you see that set of stars. That is actually what happens. It is a different set of stars. Now, if you live more north and you look up, so on this time of year, you're kind of looking up and you're seeing those set of stars, and you can kind of see a vast array because you're looking kind of up, in relation to the rotational motion of the Earth around the sun. So you come over here, you look up, you're still kind of looking at some of that same field. Now, if you look that direction, you'll see different stars. But if you look up here, you may see some of the same stars that you saw when you were over here. But if you look out that way, you'll see different stars. So it all depends on your orientation. But the fact, if you look up celestial map for your location at a certain time of year and look at the stars that are seen, and then go find 6 months later and get a celestial map for nighttime, then they will not be the same stars. Now, at a certain angle, they'll be the same stars because you're basically looking more north, or but you're looking more south. So it's like being in a room with a really bright light in the center of it. So you look toward the light, you don't see anything. But if you look up, you can see the ceiling. If you look the opposite direction, you can see that wall, and you can see some of that wall, and you can see that wall. But once you start looking closer toward that light source, you can't see anymore that way. And then you look down, you can see the floor. But if you look toward that light source, it gets too bright, you don't see anymore. You walk around that light source to the other side of the room. Now you can see that wall, and you can see the same wall that you could see before over there, but you're seeing the other end of it. And maybe you can look enough just to see some of the overlap from before. You look up, you can see the same ceiling as you saw that you were on the other side, but it starts to get blurry it bleeds out when you get toward that. So there are sections where you're looking at overlap parts of the sky because of where you are, but you will see it is a different sky with different stars. Look it up. It is that way. Let us see. Yes. I am the sun god. Yes, very tiny difference in the equatorial radius. Yeah, so I can't tell you what stars you should see depending on your location, but you can easily look that up. Yeah, that's the thing. There's a lot of people just don't understand. I have a new video that I'm writing today that is once again discussing the difference between down and up, because some reason down and up and elevation is really difficult for some people. So I have another one on that. All right, Graham, take care. Carlos, thank you very much. $1. You know what, Carlos, for $1, you could become a patron on my Patreon page, and then you'll get early access to all the, it's time for shameless plug time. Okay. I truly appreciate these one-time donations through the super chat. I honestly do, but I also don't feel like you're getting enough for your dollar when you give something through these super chats, because you're getting my acknowledgement now, but that's what is that? But if you take that dollar, and if you were planning on, some people do $5. Well, $5, that's, if you do that $1 once a month, that's 5 months of early access to videos that I do. That's quick conversations with me. You can message me through there and I'll respond, because you're paying for that acknowledgement. You get early access to videos at least 1 or 2 days before I put them up on YouTube. I'm also putting up videos that are going to be exclusively for patrons there. Some of it's just like, I have one up there that's just a short conversation about a project that I'm planning on doing, just as a heads up, like, hey, this is something I'm planning on doing, so you can give me some feedback before I do it. There's also a short video up there now that I'll release probably on Monday. I think I have it set for release on Monday on YouTube, but it's already up on the Patreon page for the few people who have already signed up for that. So if you're thinking about doing a super chat, I thank you for that. But if it's possible, I would say your money's better invested by becoming a patron and then getting more from me than you're getting here. So. Someone's asking about my shirt. Oh yeah, yeah. Let's see. So it says, that's the shirt. Oh, no problem, Garrett. I didn't necessarily think that you were a flat earther. Honestly, people have these questions. You don't have to be a fringe thinker to have these questions. And so, yeah, I didn't take that as where you were coming from. Flatty patties. Yeah, the Punisher. That's funny. Punisher. It's funny. Yeah, so yeah, it was a gift. Apparently, she went to a little shop and the guy was making custom shirts, and she basically said, can you get that thing there with this message on it? And then you put in the order and you come back in the morning and they've made it for you. So that's cool. Sorry, Carlos, offended by this shirt. Let us see. What else is going on? Do I have any others? I was saying some people weren't, I keep getting some feedback. People are not happy with my ferrofluid experiment, not understanding that I wasn't saying that water on the earth is actually magnetic. Just explaining how forces work. The whole point of the ferrofluid experiment was to show that a attractive force can act on a liquid to make it adhere to the outside of an object. That's the whole point. I wasn't saying that the this is still going down a little too far here. There we go. Wasn't claiming that the Earth's water is like ferrofluid, that it's that kind of magnetic, even though there is magnetic properties to it. I wasn't claiming that there'd be spikies in the air because of the way it works. It's just understanding the concept that people don't understand, that a force can pull an object toward the center, can pull a fluid toward the center of an object and cause it to adhere to the outside of it. The whole idea was showing the concept of down being toward the center of an object. And so like I said, I'm doing a video today that's trying to, once again, explaining the difference between up and down and what elevation actually means, because globe deniers really have a hard time with that. So, Motor Bear, good evening. Yes. Well, and then there's the whole idea of things not understanding things being attached to the earth versus being separate from it. That's funny. Hey, Critical Think. Nice to hear from you. Running a bit. Sorry you're kind of late. I'm probably going to be off here in about 15 minutes or so. Want to try to get some experiments done today. So, and I got some writing to do for some videos. So I'm going to try to cut this one short, which is why I'm not having people come on, because if I have people come on, then we're just going to talk and it's just going to be a 3-hour thing. I'm trying to keep this thing short. What do you think about the fraud guy about the torque line? I don't know what that's in reference to. Maybe you can send me a link on that, Hugo Perez. I'll look into it. I'm not sure what that is. Yeah, everybody, if you're not subscribed to Critical Think, he's got a nice way of presenting things in a humorous way. I still love his upside down videos because he's in Australia. I think that's brilliant. Made a half-hour-long video on that using a foam globe rather than a clay ball. Yeah, they don't get it. Yeah, drop a link, Hugo, to something, so then afterwards people can check in on it. Morthos, take care. Oh yeah, it's Sunday. I think you're kind of get some stuff done. Things are totally confused here because of air quality. I've been working from home, and kids been off school because they closed the schools because of air quality. So I don't even know what day of the week it is. Barely keeping it together. Yes, critical thing gets upside down and in the future. I know. Trying to do email and things and discuss things with him, and I'm like, how do you know what I'm saying? You're in the future. Hey, what's up, Team Skeptic? No, you didn't miss anything. We're just chatting. I wasn't having anybody in the room today, just because I wanted to keep things mellow and to a decent time level, time length. And if I let people in, I know I'll just talk and talk and talk, and then we'll go on. So I'm going to do about another 10 to 15 minutes, and we're going to be done here. Let's see. Neil deGrasse Tyson claims the rotation of the Earth moved the goalpost in place for a football. He was joking. Yeah, I saw that one. Yeah, he was joking on that one. Yes, never make analogies to flat earthers. They always take them literally. That is a difficult thing, as you try to show something analogous to a globe denier, and they say, "Are you saying that that's?" Excuse me, sorry, hit the mic. Are you saying that that is what the Earth is? Like, no, I'm just showing you how things work. But no, it's it's like they're like sometimes they're often like children without like object permanence. They're like, where did it go? You took it away. Does it not exist anymore? He's like, no, here it is. It's here. Don't worry. So yeah, it's true. No more news like about the polar flight fraud. It's in the hands of the FBI, and whatever that means. Whether or not they're working on it on a regular basis, I don't know. But I've been informed by them that I've done everything I can do, and now it's just they'll let me know if anything comes of it. Just a random D Marble question. It just says D Marble. I don't know what that means. Yes, when Neil said, "Think of the Earth like being pear-shaped," flat earthers had a field day. Yeah, they couldn't get over the fact that he said it was pear-shaped. They instantly grabbed pictures of pears, classic, bulbous pears, and said, "That's what the Earth looks like." No, no, no. Let's see. All right, Paul. Take care. Anybody else in the room? Any other direct questions? I think young Blue took off, which is What subject was I educated in? Let's see. I went to University of California, Berkeley, and studied physics and math. And then I shifted because I ran out of money, and so then I also decided it was the late '80s, and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with physics. The nuclear industry was something I didn't want to have anything to do with at the time. So then I went back to my first passion, which was illustration and design. And so then I went on to finish my education in that. But once a physics nerd, once a math nerd, you kind of never give that up. And so I just kind of continued my education on my own with that. But that was my original field of study, was physics, until I decided I didn't know what I wanted to do with that. If I had known that you could get a job being like like a Neil deGrasse Tyson, like a popularizer. If that was a thing, I would have stuck with it and maybe even gone into that because I love talking about these things. I love explaining things to people, but that's just not something I saw as a possibility back then. So I moved on to something else. How do I think the flat Earth movement will end? With a whimper, but it'll be interesting. No, that's not hypocrisy. You don't know what hypocrisy is. That's just called human failings. There's a difference. Channel Q. So, thank you. Logan Paul is iffy movement messiah. He will crucify himself for the movement altogether. Yeah, it's seriously this Logan Paul thing. People keep asking me about job applications for FECU, and I don't know what that's about. I don't follow those people. Can you answer this question on the difference between the sun effect at sea level compared to the moon effect? Well, there is the sun. People will ask about this, but the sun does have more effect on. Let's see, what's the question here? The sun has more influence on the Earth than the moon, on objects on the Earth. The difference is that the sun being far away, as big as it is, there's not much difference between the sun's influence on the near side of the Earth versus the far side of the Earth. There's not much differential because it's pretty much 93 million 3,000 miles or versus 93 or 92 million, 997,000 miles. There's not much difference. On the other hand, while the moon does not have as much actual gravitational influence on the Earth compared to the sun, it does have a high differential in influence. The near side of the Earth proportionally is much closer to the moon than the far side of the Earth when it comes to comparing it to the sun. So there's a differential between the influence that the moon has on one side versus the other side, and that is what causes kind of a fractional difference in the forces on the Earth, which allows the moon to seemingly have more influence because there's a bigger differential between the influence on one side or the other. So the sun has more general influence, but it's pretty much balanced because it's all very far away. While the moon doesn't have as much influence, there's an imbalance between one side of the Earth and the other, which it's that fractional difference that causes that influence. I don't know how well that was for an explanation. It's one of those things that's not easy to put into words. But thanks for the question, Sam. What do you think the flat earthers will move on to when flat Earth dies? I mean, it'll be some Illuminati-based thing. What will they move on to? I don't know, maybe simulated world. Just go on that because that's one of those things that can't be disproven. So maybe they'll go on that. Oh, they're already on chemtrails. Yeah. Yeah, they're already on chemtrails. That's all part of it. Yeah, and speaking of I mean, look, this is I'm in a world of chemtrails right now. Real chemtrails, and that is the chemical smoke that is coming from these fires. This is what it really is. This kind of, walking around with these masks on. That's, we're living like this here in Northern California right now because of true chemical air pollution going on, not the supposed chemtrails that these scaredy cat conspiracy theory people think about. And honestly, when I think of people who are worried about the Illuminati, about chemtrails, about fluoride, about these false flag things to frame flat earthers or whatever. I think about people who are afraid. They're afraid of a world out of their control. Uh, they're afraid of a world that doesn't have someone in charge. Um, and so I think of them being very fear-based people. I mean, they talk the big war. They talk about, fighting for freedom and this and that, but at the heart of it, they're afraid. Um, and that's just not how I work. So I have a very little respect for people who live in that kind of fear. Yeah. I don't know why that came up, but that was just a thought that came through my head. Let's see. Channel Q. Yeah, I don't have time for that. Yeah. You start talking about sodomites and stuff like that, you're in a timeout. I don't have time for that kind of garbage. There's a considerable delay between PC and mobile live streams. Okay, I only do things on my desktop. I haven't tried mobile. I'll be doing some mobile probably in a month or two when I'm traveling for work and stuff. I'll probably do some mobile, so I need to figure out how that works. I saw a while ago a flat earther and a chemtrailer build his own Illuminati-like conspiracy from the Hawaii eruptions just because he had never saw one living in New York City. Okay, yeah, see, people will look for anything, man. Yeah, Sherry Lynn, I don't think flat Earth will ever truly die, because it's religious based. A lot of it is religious based or faith based. They'll just move on to something else. Yeah, they can always come up with an excuse to cover for it. They just think that they're in the Truman Show to a certain degree because they think so much of the world is about them and that they're important enough for conspiracies to be working against them. I don't have a problem with people having, discussing religion. I just don't have a problem with people discussing religious bigotry. So it's not that religion has no Christ puncher. It's not that religion has no place in this chat. I don't have a problem with that. But just I have no room for religious bigotry. So when people talk about what sodomites are doing or whatever, I got no time for that. Isaac Arthur. That name sounds familiar, but no. Let's see. Sean Hubbard, you just spent, yeah, I'm going for about 5 more minutes. It's 10 o'clock. I got on a little late, so we're gonna have a nice solid 2 hours or so. But yeah, so I'm gonna start summing this thing up. Let's see. Anything. A free fall plane ride would be great. Yeah, you can't explain buoyancy in a free fall. Mad Mike is in New York, is in New Mexico. Yes, Jado, that flat earthers bring up the Bible when they don't have any answers. Yeah, that's why you can't really talk to them that much. It's difficult because they always fall back on that. Brainery, drop a link. Drop a link in the. You're a patron, right? Drop a link on the Patreon page, and so then I can look at it there. And thank you very much for that. I'm gonna try to get you more content. What? So if anybody has any good links to any good videos that came out of that flat Earth conference, drop them on in the either the chat here or on the the comment threads because I'm curious if anything came. I saw a few and nothing seemed to be happening. There was the conversations were fairly inane, so I didn't see anything of any real substance going on. So I'm curious if anybody has any if there's any links of anybody's presentations at that convention, so I can look at it and see the kind of things that they were claiming. If so, please drop a link, and so then I can look at some of their more endorsed claims, because that's a problem. Is whenever you discuss globe deniers' claims, they try to say that you're taking it out of context. So it'd be nice to see it in context. Time to watch your Buccaneers lose. That's funny. All right, folks. So I'm gonna sign out of this thing here. It seems once I stop posting in the chat for more than like 5 or 6 minutes, the chat dies off. So it's gonna be shutting off relatively soon. I'm not gonna repeat that one. But that's funny, Sardot. But I'm not repeating that one. A problem with a telescope with electronic tracking controls, my 3D views, is that globe deniers claim that those have pre-programmed videos of celestial objects so that it will make it appear the way they want it to appear. See, that's the problem, is they believe that it's all been rigged. So thank you very much. Thanks for everyone. Was this torque the line experiment? Same guy that explained light under the clouds. Okay, cool. Thank you very much, Hugo. And yeah, I probably should do just a straight Occam's razor video because that gets brought up. Yeah. You're back. Well, I'm taking off, Graham. I'm glad you had a nice burger. But it's 10 o'clock here. I need to get some breakfast and get my day started. The sun is actually finally making it through the haze. So but thank you very much. Thank you, Sam. Now, again, I will stay up one more time. Thank you very much for your super chat, Sam. But if you're interested in doing things like a super chat, I feel it's a better investment for you to become a patron on my Patreon page, which is patreon.com/Greatersapien. Because for that $2 you just gave me, that's 2 months of being a patron, which gives you early access to videos. I already have at least one video up there that is not on YouTube. It's not public on YouTube. So you have early access to that. You can have straight conversations with me. You can suggest videos. We can have separate conversations there. You basically get more content than you do through, let's say, a live chat here. So that $2 you gave is thoroughly appreciated, but I would love to give you more content. And if you use that $2 to go toward being a patron, you would get more, and that would be better. Thank you very much, Hugo. Again, I suggest, if at all possible, become a patron, and then I'll get you more stuff. So thank you very much, everybody. I'm going to be signing off here. Get my my hazard mask going so I can go outside and look forward to more. We're going to be doing this unless I'm out of town. We're going to do this every Sunday, and I'll try to get at least 1 or 2 videos on during the week, and at least that many for my Patreon page. You'll get at least 1 or 2 extra videos a week on Patreon, in addition to this live stream that will happen every Sunday. So as you can see, my voice is really going because this air is toxic as hell. But thanks everybody for your time. It was great chatting with you all. To Young Blue for keeping things organized in the questions. Thank you very much. We'll chat offline about the Discord. Once again, everybody have a great Sunday. Take care of yourselves. If you get a chance today, learn something new, teach somebody something new, and have a good time. Take care. And of course, I'm not gone yet because, didn't have my stuff together. So, all right, I'm getting out of here. Bye.